Good morning. This is Mrs. Diana, and today I have a story about a ball that did not like to bounce. Have you ever heard of a ball that wouldn't bounce? This story was written by Brandon Freeman and pictures by Tu Yao Zhang, and it was published by Beaver's Pond Press. Once there was a ball named George. He was shiny red ball with yellow stripe on his middle and white stars inside the yellow stripe. George loved to roll around on the ground. He loved to fly through the air. He loved to sit quietly in one spot with the breeze flowing across his shiny rubber. However, George was not an ordinary ball. He was not like the other balls that he knew. George did not like to bounce. A ball should always like to bounce, he heard his neighbor Betty the tennis ball say. A ball is not a ball if it doesn't like to bounce, said his cousin Jacob the golf ball. There's a golf ball and a tennis ball. He even overheard his parents talking one night after they thought he had gone to bed. I just don't understand. We bounce. Why doesn't he? George didn't understand why he had to bounce. He just didn't like to do it. Was it that different? Was it really that bad? George decided to look for other balls that did not like to bounce. He searched on basketball courts, and he didn't find one. Basketballs like to bounce, don't they? He searched on baseball fields, and he didn't find them. He even searched the beach, and he didn't find them. Baseballs can bounce? Oh, beach balls really can bounce. He couldn't find another ball that didn't like to bounce. George decided to give up his search. He headed home to tell his mom and dad and friends and family that he'd start bouncing. He was sadly rolling along and staring at the ground when he noticed a bright light in a puddle's reflection. The bright light was coming from a nearby window. Bowling alley, it says, and there's the reflection. What kind of balls do they use at a bowling alley? George rolled into the bowling alley. The first thing he heard was a ball rolling. Then he heard another ball rolling, and another one, and he heard no bouncing, just the joyful sound of balls rolling. He rolled up to the first lane and saw a large, heavy ball sitting on a rack. He asked, "Why aren't you bouncing? Don't all balls like to bounce?" The large, heavy ball laughed. Bounce? We bowling balls like to roll down the lanes, feel the wood run against our sides, and hear the crash of the pins. No, sir, we do not like to bounce. George had finally found other balls like him. He wasn't alone in this world. He could go back to his mom and dad and friends and family and tell them he wasn't so different after all. George was a happy ball. George was a bowling ball. Have you ever been bowling?